audit report that we had received. I got a question here. Received here, and we'd like to discuss some bullet points on the audit report.
Okay. I just wanted to speak to the audit report from our Auditor General that was released in May. I think there's some misinformation, not complete information regarding what has been put out there. First thing that I wanted to say is that audit finding was not specific to Carbon County. That audit finding was reported in 41 other counties in the state. The remaining counties have either not been audited yet or were audited prior to 2016 when that audit finding was being put in place. So it's not something that's specific to us, first of all. The second thing is that this finding, it doesn't mean that there was money that was misspent, misappropriated, missing. It doesn't mean any of that. So I think that that's something that's very important. The bills in question for the services that they are auditing in that time period, we absolutely believe that those services were provided to those children and families. We feel very strongly about that. The other piece to that is that those bills all went through our fiscal office review. They also went through the controller's office. So they had several set of eyes on them before they were paid. Again, all those bills we feel were appropriate services that were provided. We've never been audited in the past on those services, and I think that's very important. We've never been asked for those documents. We've never been asked to provide any sort of backup to those services. And something happened in 2016 that they started asking for those things. Since that audit report, our agency has complied wholeheartedly with their recommendations. We've put things in place that we're meeting with the providers regularly. We are monitoring the bills. We are getting the backup documentation that they are asking for. And in our audit report, it specifically says by the auditor, we recognize that you've put these things in place and we commend you for doing it. But I think that that's a big thing. So I just wanted to address those issues. And
TV 13 had reported something, and I wasn't in town last week, and that's why I missed last week's meeting. But Katya had reported some information on the audit, and the audit makes reference to a lot of the things that Anissa had said there. And you know, we absolutely felt the need to respond to that and offer an explanation because there's a misrepresentation of some sorts that the money is unaccounted for, and that's the farthest thing from the truth. This is one very, very difficult department to run. Our people, in our opinions, do a great job running that office. The findings of the Auditor General, like Anissa said, are also findings that are in the audits of 41 different counties. And so it's pretty obvious that what they do is use a template and change the name from county to county and the number from the number that our number versus numbers in different counties. And the understanding or our understanding of it is that the Auditor General believes that we need to be taking an extra step to document or substantiate the cost that we are incurring. And that in itself, our position would be is that you know, there isn't any county that has staff in place able to do that. I liken it to a situation where we send, say, our inmates at the prison to the hospital for treatment, and we get billed by that hospital. Well, we pay that bill for the services provided, But we don't go to the hospital and say, open that file and show us everything they were treated for and everything that was in that bill. We see the bill, we understand it, but we don't have personnel, and neither do the other counties or the other agencies in those counties to go to every provider. Now, one thing I think is really important, and this hasn't touched on, but I'm gonna ask her to explain it, is that we do have a policy in place that the Auditor General had commended us for in putting in place, and that is to make sure when someone goes to in-home services, they get the documentation they need. Can you explain?
Been doing, and actually what we started doing before the audit report came out was, the caseworkers, the supervisors have been meeting with our in-home providers on a regular basis, meeting with them, going over the case notes, the progress of the cases. So they're on this. They see what's going on. They see how much time is going into the services that we're being billed for. That's a big piece of it. That documentation we have the case notes, we have the meeting notes. We also started doing sign-in sheets. So if a counselor, an in-home provider goes out to a home, has services with the child, they have a sign-in sheet. The parent signs off on it, the adult signs off on it. We require all those sign-in sheets from that provider with their bill that gets matched up. If something's not signed, if something's missed, the bill doesn't get paid, we investigate it further. So we have put many steps in place to try and satisfy the documentation that the AG is asking for, and that's the best that we can do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our caseworkers, our financial people, and everyone else, training all the time. They're the ones that set the regulations, they're the one that train our people, and yet, when we go out and they come back here and cite all these counties, 41, and then they're not even finished with all the counties yet. So I think there's a big breakdown in the system somewhere. If they want things done a certain way, I think they better revamp their training system. That it tells me they have a problem at the state level, not the county level. But when you read these reports, it's the counties that get the bad rap. They put in there right away deficiencies and everything else when there really is none. Now, let me give you a prime example. Yesterday's prison board meeting, where we got the report from Brian Company about the deficiencies there. We asked for a letter. It says, you know, the communication does have the potential to be misunderstood, since it is a letter of internal deficiencies, control deficiencies, but none were discovered in the audit, as a reader may feel there are deficiencies. Since issuing it, even though there were none found in our controls. They're putting in there about deficiencies, but they, at the end of the letter, they put in there is no deficiencies. So right away, all these things are picked up on and misinterpreted immediately. You know, there's nothing wrong in one sentence, and then another sentence, they have deficiencies. So what do you go by? So that's a little disturbing when you, and this is a standard letter, according to the auditor. It's a standard letter that the industry uses and puts in almost every letter. Well, it's things like this that really give the counties heartburn with all the regulations and paperwork and documentation. These people, the children, are not getting the services they deserve. It's over documentation. It takes a lot of time, and it's overwhelming just for the caseworkers and everything else. So they didn't sign up to be write books and all kinds of reports. They signed up to help the kids, and we want you to be clear. That is our number one goal, you know, the safety of the kids and taking care of those kids. That's all I have. Any other further business?